All right, let's talk about something in mental health that's, well, it's often missed. We're going to dive into the hidden but incredibly important connection between anxiety and bipolar disorder. You might think of them as two totally separate things, but for so many people, they're part of the same, really complex challenge.
Okay, get ready for this number because it really sets the stage. More than half. Yep, over 50% of people who have bipolar disorder will also at some point develop an anxiety disorder. This isn't some rare thing. We're talking about the majority of people, which makes understanding this link absolutely crucial.
And believe me, this is way more than just a statistic. Like it says here, it's a connection that truly changes everything. It changes how we diagnose, how we treat, and how we understand the whole experience. When these two show up together, the stakes get so much higher.
So, just how common is this link, really? Well, in the medical world, they call it comorbidity. It's basically when you have two conditions at the very same time. And when it comes to anxiety and bipolar disorder, that rate is, frankly, shockingly high.
This chart, wow, it really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? That bar on the left, that's the baseline for the general population. But look at the bar on the right. If you have bipolar disorder, your chances of also having an anxiety disorder shoot up by 3 to 7 times. That is a staggering difference, and it proves these conditions are not just overlapping by chance.
So the big question is why? Why do these two overlap so much? You know, the honest answer is researchers are still figuring it all out. But the leading ideas, they point to things like shared genetic vulnerabilities, or maybe similar wiring in the brain. On a more practical level, a huge factor is that their symptoms can look incredibly alike, which makes it really hard to tell where one condition ends and the other begins.
Okay, so what does this actually mean for someone's life? Well, having both conditions isn't just an additive problem. It's not like 1 + 1 = 2. It's more like they multiply each other, creating this far more complex and difficult challenge for everyone involved.
I mean, just look at this list. When anxiety is in the mix, mood episodes can become way more severe and they can last longer. It also ups the risk for substance use, can make medications less effective, and, it just leads to more psychological distress and a lower quality of life overall. It complicates literally every single part of the illness.
So, with all that, why is getting the right treatment so darn tricky? Well, the answer is kind of surprising. It's in the very nature of the treatments themselves and how they can actually clash with each other, sometimes in a really dangerous way.
A massive part of the puzzle here is trying to untangle all the symptoms, being able to spot the specific signs that point to both conditions being there at the same time. That is the absolute first and most critical step to getting the treatment right.
So what are the big red flags? Well, you're looking for things like a constant, intense nervousness that sticks around even when you're between mood episodes. Or maybe trouble sleeping that has nothing to do with being in a manic state. And often, a really big clue is a long history of anxiety symptoms, sometimes going all the way back to childhood.
And all of this really points to one clear solution. You have to have a unified treatment plan. You just can't treat these things in separate boxes. It's got to be a package deal, tackling both at the same time.
And this is the part you really need to hear. Trying to treat one without acknowledging the other, it's not just going to fail, it can be downright harmful. The wrong first move can send everything spiraling.
This slide really lays it all out. It's the critical fork in the road. Over on the left, you've got the dangerous path. A doctor sees the anxiety, misses the bipolar, and prescribes a standard antidepressant. Boom, that can actually trigger a manic episode. But the safe approach on the right, it flips the script entirely. You stabilize the mood first, and only then do you address the anxiety.
So let's walk through what that safe strategy actually looks like. Step 1, a doctor's probably going to start with a mood stabilizer or an antipsychotic. These are the drugs designed to handle those extreme highs and lows. Step 2, for a few weeks, it's all about watching and assessing how that medication is working. And only then, in step 3, if anxiety is still a big problem, might they very carefully add a super low-dose antidepressant, all while keeping a close eye out for any signs of mania. But of course, medication is never the whole story, right? Therapy is where you get the actual tools to manage things day to day. You've got stuff like cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which is all about retraining your brain to get out of harmful thought loops. Family therapy can help lower stress at home. And social rhythm therapy is fascinating. It helps stabilize mood just by creating solid, consistent daily routines.
And finally, and this is maybe the most important part of all, nobody has to figure this out alone. Finding support, finding your people it's everything when it comes to managing these conditions.
And there are some amazing organizations out there. You've got the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance. They have a ton of free resources, support groups, you name it. And then there are groups like Mood Network, who are actually using patient feedback to help research new treatments. The point is, there's a whole community out there ready to help.
And this quote, it just says it all, doesn't it? Getting a healthcare professional to recognize that a person has both conditions, that's the whole ballgame. It is literally the difference between a safe, effective plan and one that could cause real harm.
So we'll leave you with this to think about. Now that we understand just how deep this connection runs, how can we use that knowledge to change things, to screen people better, to create smarter treatments, and really, to build a more hopeful future for mental health care?